to immigration because obviously there's been a lot of action when it comes to going after undocumented migrants, undocumented immigrants in this country. Sources say that ICE has been directed to ramp up arrests to at least 75 per field office per day. If every field office hits that quota or that number, that goal, that would be 1,875 undocumented immigrants arrested every day. Now, the Washington Post reports that President Trump has been disappointed with the numbers so far. I don't know if that's true. You will tell me if it is. What is the priority, though, when it comes to these deportations? Is the initial goal, as we had been told by Trump allies after the election, to go after those first, as a priority, to go after those who have committed violent crimes and are part of violent gangs? Or is it we're just going to go after anybody who is in this country illegally? We're not going to prioritize.
Well, yes, we are going to prioritize. So first of all, the numbers you cited are a floor, not a ceiling, very importantly. They're a floor. The goal is to arrest at least that many, but hopefully many more. And the Department of Justice is going to be closely involved in providing the manpower to help achieve those objectives as laid out in the President's executive order. Yes, ICE is absolutely prioritizing terrorist, public safety threats, and national security threats. It is also true that Joe Biden admitted some unknowably large number of millions of illegal immigrants into this country, all of whom are ineligible for asylum, ineligible for any form of immigration relief, are ineligible to remain in the country. So if you look at public polling on this issue, about 70% of Americans think that everybody that Joe Biden let in should be removed. About 80% of Americans agree that all criminal aliens should be removed. That's the baseline of public opinion support.
So you are going to prioritize the violent criminals, though. That's the thing.
Yes, but we're not going to immunize everybody that Joe Biden let in. I mean, let me ask you a hypothetical, and you can treat it as a rhetorical question, not answer it if you don't want to, Jake.
I appreciate it.
Let's say that an illegal alien arrived in the last 3 months of the Biden administration from, say, Peru. He was released. He failed to appear in immigration court. He was issued a final removal order. So, showed up, got released, didn't appear, ordered deported. Been here for 6 months. Is it your position, Jake, that guy should get to stay till the end of his life? I mean, what kind of country can run that way?
Okay.
I mean, no country in the world runs that way.
So let me ask you, President Trump has left the door open to invoking the Insurrection Act, which would allow him to use military forces, U.S. military forces, inside the United States for law enforcement. What would that look like? Are we going to see U.S. troops in American cities arresting undocumented immigrants? Tell us what this is about.
So the Insurrection Act in this context mostly applies to considerations related to the border and the cartel threat. So we've already seen 2 shooting incidences in the last 2 days of suspected cartel violence against Border Patrol agents. President Trump's clampdown and closure of the southern border has disrupted the flow of funds to the most ruthless and dangerous organizations on planet Earth, like the Sinaloa cartel, like the Mexican mafia. These are organizations that are being designated as foreign terrorist organizations, and the president has set the national objective of eradicating their physical presence on U.S. soil. So you should understand considerations about the Insurrection Act in that context.
So
with respect to interior enforcement,
yes,
that's where a program known as 287G comes into play that you're probably familiar with. And that's where we're going to be enrolling state police, local sheriffs, and law enforcement across the nation into federal immigration programs. And that's how we're going to significantly increase the arrest numbers.
But is the Insurrection Act going to possibly be used to use the U.S. military to go after undocumented immigrants in American cities and American towns? Is the door open for that?
Right now, the Insurrection Act, which is still being considered based on operational needs on the southern border, so no decision has been made, is specifically in the context of countering that cartel threat. In the interior, it's going to be about enrolling state and local law enforcement to massively increase the supply of guns and badges to conduct these immigration raids.
All right, so you're not ruling it out, but that's not the plan right now. Let me ask you a question because one of the reasons that President Trump got elected, according to President Trump in an interview, I think it was with Kristen Welker of NBC, was because of grocery prices. Not the only reason, but a reason, high prices, inflation, especially at the grocery. The Department of Agriculture says that between 2020 and 2022, 42% of crop workers were undocumented immigrants. And in many cases, as you know, these migrants do jobs many Americans do not want to do. So, how does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles, and small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden flights. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 illegal aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are.
But I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about the ones.
I will. Give me 30 minutes. I'll go as deep as you want on this. I'm explaining to you and your audience.
I don't have I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
I'm
you can
explaining
come back
to you
and
and
we
your
can
audience.
talk about the ones in the cities. I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They are in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. So we are going to unapologetically enforce our immigration laws. And as I'm sure you will celebrate, we are going to unleash the power and might of the U.S. government to eradicate the presence of transnational threats on our soil.
So last question, Stephen, and this has to do with the move by President Trump on Friday to fire a number of inspectors general in various departments. This afternoon, Senators Chuck Grassley, a Republican from Iowa, and Dick Durbin, Democrat of Illinois, the chair and ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, sent a letter to President Trump, and they're asking for an explanation why he fired these inspectors general from 18 offices without giving Congress the legally required 30-day notice. These two senators, one of whom is a big ally of yours, says, quote, while IGs aren't immune from committing acts requiring their removal, and they can be removed by the president, the law must be followed, unquote. So why didn't President Trump, according to these senators, follow the law and give Congress the required notice?
Well, I mean, simply, first of all, we love Chuck Grassley. The president loves Chuck Grassley. I love Chuck Grassley. As far as I know, everyone in America loves Chuck Grassley. So we fully embrace that relationship and are a close partner of his. But the president's authority to fire any federal worker is plenary. There's no lawful constraints that can be placed on the president to terminate a worker in the federal government who exercises discretionary policy. That's the basis of Article 2 and the Constitution and the idea of a single executive. When you have anyone in the federal government who exercises decision-making authority who can't be fired, then that person is a king, and then we don't have a democracy anymore.
The law says 30 days, Stephen. The law says you have to give Congress 30 days.
Right, and I'm telling you what the Constitution says with respect to the president's authority.
So you think the law is unconstitutional?
Absolutely it is. I don't even think it is. I know it is.
All right. Stephen Miller, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's get reaction to what we just heard from Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy.